Manchester United! That was a bit grander than I meant it to be, but we'll work with it. Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in world football. Even if you're not a football fan, you know the name, you know the shirt colour, you know the logo. And that's probably for the best at the moment, because on the pitch, things aren't so great. And let's be honest, things haven't been great for some time in Old Trafford. A plethora of managers have come through the door and have gone back out the door almost as quickly. Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest managers of all time, was the person who won their last league title. Now, they've won trophies since then, but it's the league title that United fans really want. And since he's left, we've had a bunch of different archetypes of different manager profiles. We've had the manager who's overachieved at a smaller club on a smaller budget in David Moyes. We've had the older manager who's got a list of experience, who really knows how to get the job done in Louis van Gaal. We've had the superstar manager in Jose Mourinho, who he's gone as well. We've had the club legend who's come to see if he can do it in the dugout as well as he could do it on the pitch in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And we now have the continental manager who's up and coming, who's young, who's fresh, who's got a distinctive style of play, who really should be the ideal candidate for the job in Erik Ten Hag. And somehow, all of these have gone wrong. Trophies have been won by Louis van Gaal, by Jose Mourinho. I'm trying to think whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won a trophy. I'm pretty sure he didn't. But Erik Ten Hag has won a trophy as well. So there is stuff going on that's right, and there's been some good signings over the years as well, some superstar signings. But there's something at Old Trafford that just stops any of that success from actually developing into something, which leaves United as a bit of a poison chalice. And honestly, I don't know any manager worth their salt who would look at that club and go, do you know what? I fancy giving that a go. Which is why I'm going to do it. Yes, that means it's time for a rebuild. Our first rebuild here on FM24. If you haven't been here before, my name is Stu. I like to make Football Manager videos, and if you're excited to see what we can do here at Old Trafford, do not forget to leave a like on that video for me and to subscribe so you don't miss any of the nonsense that does regularly come out of this space right here. Let's get into it. Let's see what we can do. What a club this is when you break down the stats. 3 Champions Leagues or European Cups, 20 league titles, a Club World Cup, a European Cup Winners' Cup in there, 12 FA Cups, 12, a UEFA Super Cup, a Europa League, I couldn't get my words out then because that's important, an Intercontinental Cup, 2 Championships, 6 Carabao Cups, 21 FA Community Shields, the most important trophy of them all, but no Intertoto Cup, and that is the second most important trophy of them all. I'm just going to stop talking. But we have a fantastic stadium. I think in real life it needs a lot of work on it, but it is one of the biggest stadiums in the country. This is a club that really should not be in the position that it's in. That's why we're here. Now, it's worth pointing out that I'm doing this on I forget the name of the game mode. The game mode, that means you start off as if no transfers have been made. I want a clean slate. I want the maximum amount of money. And we're going to just let this universe do its thing. So we're going to start off with the squad that ended the 22-23 season. No Andre Onana, no Højlunds, no players like that, for example. I know there's other players, I'm just using those 2 as examples. But we're going to start off with the squad that ended the end of the season. Of course, there are 1 or 2 players who might not be here. The biggest omission is, because he's been released on a free, David De Gea. So we do have an urgency of needing to buy a goalkeeper. So we sort in position order. You can see we have got a number of goalkeepers, but our best goalkeeper is tied between Tom Heaton and Dean Henderson. Nah. So we're going to have to buy someone from there. Right back wise, we've got a couple. We've got Wan-Bissaka and we've got, where is he? Diogo Dalot. Left back, we've got Luke Shaw and Malacia. We do have a few other left backs as well in Alex Telles and Brandon Williams. It's worth pointing out that Malacia is out for up to 5 months. So we do need to consider that with the rebuild. In terms of central defence, we've got Harry Maguire, Eric Bailly, Varane, Lindelof, Martinez. Full disclosure, I plan on using Martinez as a defensive midfielder. I've already got that in my head, just so you're aware. But that's the defence. That needs work, quite frankly. Varane is going to be the nailed-on starter, but the other 4 definitely need some upgrading. I think we can afford to lose at least 2 of these guys and replace them with 2 top-tier players. I'll get onto the transfer budget in a minute. In terms of midfielders, central midfield, we've got Casemiro, we've got Fred, Eriksen, McTominay, Van der Beek, Bruno Fernandes, if you want to count him. fantastic options in there and some deadwood as well. I mean, I would very much see us hanging on to Casemiro, Eriksen. McTominay's a decent squad player to have. Bruno Fernandes is a worldie. But Van de Beek, Fred, sorry lads, your time's probably up. In terms of the wing options, we've got Jadon Sancho, Amad Diallo, Pellistri, Rashford, Martial, Garnacho. Again, similar to midfield, there's some that we can really work with there. Jadon Sancho, I know he's had troubles in real life, but I think he'd still definitely play a part in this squad. Pellistri, he's an up-and-comer for the future. Rashford, we're not getting rid of him. And Garnacho, he's an up-and-comer for the future as well. We'd hang on to those guys. Martial, Diallo, we could probably let those guys go. But the biggest notable absence is an out-and-out striker, kind of like in real life United before they signed Højlund. So we know where the money pretty much needs to go as a priority. Goalkeeper, striker. Now, in accepting that, I think we need to work out what the shape will be for the rest of the squad. I think it is going to be a one-striker system. It's definitely going to be using wingers. It's a debate whether we have a system that has an attacking midfielder, one defensive midfielder. Maybe we go for the ever-popular 2 defensive midfielders, 1 attacking midfielder that's sprung up over the last couple of years. It's an interesting kind of conundrum as to what we do. I'm not playing 3 at the back with this United team. We don't have enough central defenders in my book. Maybe we do something like this, or maybe we just go with the 1 defensive midfielder, possibly. Why can't I? Hello? There we go. By the way, using a new skin. Don't know if you've noticed. Don't know if you like it. I'm giving something a go. I've also added my new logo packs. I've added face packs, trophy packs, real name fix, all that kind of stuff. Yay, nice and shiny. So I'm feeling something like this initially to go with, and I think we can do something with this with the players that we've got. So give me a moment to sort that out. Well, I think there's a good chance I've depressed myself by doing that. There is a lot of work that we need to do. However, the potential to raise a lot of money. All of the gaps in that starting 11 are players that we either need or that I think that we need. Now, goalkeeper's not an option. We can't have 2-star being our best option. Now, Tom Heaton, in my head, is going to be good enough if we need to have him as a backup. I mean, it probably would be better to keep Dean Henderson, but he will generate more money. So, in my head, I'm thinking of that. Wing-backs are fine. I might take advantage of the interest in Wan-Bissaka if we can find a better alternative to bring in. Centre-backs desperately need. I'm debating keeping Lindelof and Varane. And that does mean that we would be getting rid of Harry Maguire, Eric Bailly. They would be on the way out. Anyone else in there as a centre-back? No, not really. So they're the ones who I'd be binning off. Left-back's fine. Maybe we bring in an emergency one. We do still have... what's his name? Brandon Williams. Let's think about his surname then. Sorry, his first name. We still got him. He could cope. And also, so could Lisandro Martinez. Which brings me to defensive midfield. I don't know whether I'd be playing him as a defensive midfielder. Let's say he's a ball winner. That's fine. Casemiro and Martinez will do the job there. Oh boy, midfield, we need work. Centre mid on attack is what I've settled for Bruno Fernandes. I think he can do that job really well. He can do playmaking as well, but I don't know. I think just getting him forward, getting him more involved with the stats that he's got, I think that makes a lot more sense. That's just me. You might disagree. Feel free to disagree if you do. But that then leaves Christian Eriksen to play as the advanced playmaker. I do think we need understudies for both. So an attacking-minded midfielder along with someone who can be more of a playmaker. I think that would do. Winger-wise, absolutely fine. However, if an offer came in for someone like Anthony, I'd consider it to bring fresh blood in. And I've already mentioned we need a striker, not one, we need 2. We need a starter and a backup. So there's a lot of work to do there, a lot of work. Now, in terms of players who were looking to move out, there's a few. Fred, Alex Telles, Maguire as mentioned before. Brandon Williams is on the loan list. I'll probably take him off. Dean Henderson is on the transfer list, as is Van de Beek. Diallo is injured. I'll wait until he's back. We might just end up hanging on to him because of the injury. But everybody's on the transfer list. Pellistri isn't. We would loan him out because he's got potential. I want to keep this sort of semi-realistic as to what I would do in real life. And Anthony Martial is on the transfer list as well. Now, looking at the values. Fred, 25 million. Let's say we get him for 20. Let's say we get Telles for 10. That's 35 million. Harry Maguire for 20. Let's say we get another 15. That's 50 million. Dean Henderson, let's say we get all of the 20. That's 70. Van de Beek, let's say we get 10. That's 80. Let's say we get 10 for Bailly. That's 90. And let's say we get, what did I put Martial up for 20? I could potentially get 100 million from sales. Added on to the 130 million we've already got, that is a war chest that we could really do some damage with this team on. Which again, I think we need it. Now, if we're getting first teamers who are like proper market value, you're talking what, 50, 60 million for each of these guys around here. That's a lot of money. Obviously, we can use installments. Same with these guys, maybe a little bit more. And striker's going to cost a pretty penny. So let's see what we can do. I need to have a video with the tactics as well. I'll show you when that's done. But let's see what we can bring in and hopefully turn United into a real force once again. Why is Rashford on my screen? I don't really know. Well, what we haven't brought in is a lot of money. We've actually spent all of our transfer budget and then some. We've also used pretty much all of the wage budget. I think there's about £20,000 left there, so not a lot of wiggle room. But we are now past deadline day, so that means that the squad is set, and I'm relatively optimistic. Now, it's not my best work, I've got to be honest with you. There's a few areas we probably could have done a bit more on. However, let's dive into it, shall we? Now, remembering, of course, that we're in your world mode, that means that none of the real-life transfers for the 23-24 season have happened. It's as the squads were at the end of the 22-23 season. I've said that about 5 times in this video already. So that means Harry Kane didn't go to Bayern Munich. And he didn't in this universe. He's gone to Manchester United instead. We spent an awful lot of money on him, but I think he's going to be money very well spent. 4 goals in his first 3 games. £105 million is a lot of money. I can't remember what the upfront cost was. I think we got about £57 million, I think, initially. And then the rest of it's on add-ons, but it could go up to £128 million. But again, 3 games so far, 6 goal contributions. I mean, he's the best player in the league at the moment. I think this is going to be a worthwhile signing. The next thing we did was we solved the goalkeeper issue. And, well, he's won the World Cup. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Emi Martinez is the one that we went for. We signed him for a really cheap fee. £40 million is absolutely nothing for the quality of goalkeeper that he is. I think he's going to be superb. Okay, let's ignore the fact that he's conceded 5 goals in 3 games. Let's ignore that. That's fine. There's nothing to worry about. He's a top goalkeeper. I'm slightly biased as a Villa fan, but I think it's a really good signing. And I'm still shocked at how cheap that is. Centre-back number 1 came from Borussia Dortmund. Nico Schlotterbeck is in. Left-sided central defender, can play as a left-back as well. He's young. He's got room to grow. To me, he's going to be a potential superstar. £53 million spent. Borussia Dortmund only signed him last season, so they've only had 1 season's worth of use out of him. Hasn't played for us yet. I'll get to why in a moment, but I think that's a really solid signing. It's the type of defensive signing that United should be using. Now, I will admit that James Ward-Prowse is not the type of midfielder I was initially looking for. He's neither a playmaker nor a centre-mid on attack. However, he's just a really good player. When I saw him still at Southampton, a relegated Southampton at that, I just couldn't resist. I really couldn't, because I've used him before. And he's a quality player. He really is. So we brought him in. He's going to be kind of the rotation midfielder in any of the 3 positions that we use, because we are using that 4-3-3. He can play in any of the positions. And so far, he has started off relatively well. 3 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. He's looking every bit of a bargain for £47.5 million. Now, I can't remember what West Ham spent on him in real life. I think it was less than that. But even so, he's still looking like a bargain. Centre-back number 2 is Kim Min-jae from Napoli. I was going to say they're called Parenthorpe in this game, but I've got the real name fixed on, so it is in fact Napoli. We brought him in. He's going to be one of the starting central defenders alongside Rafael Varane. We spent £55 million on him, which I've got to be honest with you, that's not a lot of money. In the grand scheme of things in FM, that's really not a lot of money for the quality of centre-back that he is. And he's got a 7.03 in his last 3 games, his first 3 games in the league. He's looked really solid so far. Obviously, I haven't played any of the games. I've simmed all of them. But, I say simmed all of them, I've holiday passed them. But he's had a really good start to life in the Premier League, and long may that continue. This was a panic signing. I'll be honest with you, this was a panic signing. It was I haven't got another backup striker, what should I do? So I brought in Joe Felix. Now, the only issue with this is, I had to agree to him being a star player. He's not going to be a star player, but I had to agree to it. Now, what I'm hoping is, I am training him as a right winger, and I'm hoping that while we holiday forward, the game recognises that and plays him there a little bit, because he is quality. He is such a good player, but yeah, I realised afterwards, we're bringing him in as a star player. That's really not good. Now, the main reason I brought him in was because, I mean, it doesn't look like a bargain there, but they were willing to accept $30 million up front for him. That was it. So the rest of it's on instalments. So I was really happy with that as a transfer. I will admit, though, I will admit, though, probably a bit of a mistake, if I'm honest with you. However, when he actually plays in that striking position as a deep lying forward, he will do a good job there. I mean, he's great on the ball, his passing is great, his off the ball is brilliant, he's got good vision. I think he will be a bit of a superstar and has the potential to really grow into that next level player that he was touted to be all those years ago. Before we look at the total spend then, we'll have a quick look at the players who we let go. Alex Telles is one of them. He's gone to Al Duhail, I think that's how you pronounce it. And he didn't go for a very large amount of money. He went for £9 million, but it was £9 million to get off of the wage budget, and that is the most important thing. Next was Eric Bailly to Al Arabi. I forgot where the name was. I'm still getting used to this skin. He left for a fee of £10 million. He was one of the first players to go along with Alex Telles. He's not had a good start, obviously, but the main thing was getting him off the books and, again, getting his wages off the books. So that's definitely went towards us being able to spend a bit more money than we initially had. Fred was next. He's gone to West Ham United, and he went for the sum of £20 million. That gave us a little bit more spensies as well. Looks like he's had a half-decent start to West Ham life, but, yeah, we were never going to use him. He's not a bad player, Fred. I don't dislike him, but let's face it, we can upgrade. And I think upgrading Fred to James Ward-Prowse was definitely the wisest thing to do. I think, anyway. Next was Anthony Elanga. Not necessarily a transfer I wanted to make. However, we had so many transfers that we had arranged where our players turned contracts down that I got a bit desperate. So we moved him on to Nottingham Forest for £10 million. I would have preferred a bit more. I'd have preferred not to sell him, to be honest with you. But we had to raise some funds to complete the squad. And I'm not against what we've done here. I'm really not, because he wasn't going to play for us this season. He would have gone out on loan. But, yeah, one that was taken a little bit out of my hands, if I'm being honest. A couple of players who were in the under-21s who were never going to amount to much then was sold on. But then the main big one was this one, which I wasn't expecting to do. Victor Lindelof going to Tottenham. There's a big reason why Victor Lindelof left, and it's because we could not get Harry Maguire out of the door. We had offers early on in the transfer window for him. He turned every move down, and it just got to the point where there was interest in Lindelof and not in Maguire. I bit the bullet, we let Lindelof go, and he's gone for £20 million. It's not a lot of money, it's a loss that United have made. I'm not too worried about that, because I'm not the one who's made that loss. I didn't bring him in. But yeah, we also got a lot of wages off the wage bill with this transfer as well, so I'm not overly unhappy about it, but it's not the one that I would have preferred to do. And that was the final major sale. We didn't get Donny van der Beek out the door, as mentioned. We didn't get Harry Maguire out the door. We didn't get Dean Henderson out the door. We had offers in for all of them. They all turned deals down. I cannot tell you the frustration in my head when that happened. I was so annoyed. I was so ready to just slap them if they were here in real life. I wouldn't really, obviously, they'd probably kill me. But this is what the transfers look like. Total incoming is £376 million. Of course, that's not all up front. If you look at all of the fees there, they don't reflect all of the upfront costs again. About 50 for Harry Maguire, about 20 for Martinez, about another 20 for Schlotterbeck. So 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Another 20 for James Ward-Prowse, 110. Kim Min-jae, probably a 25, so that's 130, 120, 134, 150-ish maybe. Maybe 180, I would say. And again, we started with £130 million. So if you look at the money, 9 million there, 10 million there, 20 million, 10 million. I mean, yeah, you do the maths. It roughly adds up. But we've spent a lot of money, and that is what the squad is looking like at the moment. Now, if I was going to critique my own transfer window, Wan-Bissaka, he'd be out the door. Diogo Dalot, I think he's more consistent. And Wan-Bissaka, he's already dropped to 2.5 star because of the players around him levelling up. I mean, it's disappointing because I think he is a very good defender, but he's not that good. He's probably not Manchester United good, if we're being honest. So maybe Diogo Dalot gets the nod instead of him. But yeah, that's probably the one area I would have invested in more. Left back's fine. Don't need to worry about left back. Joe Felix is definitely one that I'm really happy that I've made. However, doesn't really fit what we're doing here. If we're playing a 4-2-3-1, it'd still be a problem because he'd be in the way of Eriksen and Fernandes. But then he could play as a backup to one of them, but then he wants to be a starter. So at the moment, I've got him earmarked in the right wing position. I've got him actually in the squad planner as one of these as well. And he's down as being I think, third choice left winger, along with the second choice striker as well. Oh, Anthony Martial's another one we couldn't move on. So frustrated. Again, offers were made, offers were not accepted. We did have a mini dressing room revolt as well, because apparently we were weak in goalkeeper, despite signing Emi Martinez, still having Dean Henderson and having Tom Heaton as well. We have actually ridden that during the transfer window. We've got everything back to level. We've got a couple of players at the club who are unhappy, but we've somehow managed to level things out with good performances. So, yeah. But this is the squad. And actually, all things considered, we've ended up with a relatively good one, and it's relatively deep as well. We've obviously got the starting 11, but in terms of first team players I wouldn't mind throwing in now, we've got 13 players who could do the job, and we've got one first teamer who's injured as well. I'm quite content with the work that we've done based on that. So at the moment, how are things going? Premier League wise, it's going alright. We haven't lost a game yet. We drew one of the first games in the season, but we won the other two by a bag ton of goals as well. Genuinely, so many goals. Luke Shaw is on 4 assists. He's on that list. Christian Eriksen's on an 8.3. Somehow, Harry Kane is not on this list, which I don't understand. But then, look at the start that Erling Haaland has had. Look at the start as well that Ben Yedder and McAllister have had. So he's got to be number 4 on the list. He is indeed. Christian Eriksen on there with 3 as well. We actually have a look at those games quickly. I mean, that first game, 7-1. That says everything. What a result that is. Eriksen with a hat-trick, Kane with a hat-trick, Ward-Prowse with a goal. Harry Kane got a goal against Tottenham, but it was only a draw. But then the next game against Newcastle, we obliterated them. Garnacho with 2, Sancho, Varane, Bissaka, Fernandes, Martial, all with goals. No goal for Harry Kane in that game, but he did get an 8 rating, so he did get a few assists. But we were a bit leaky. I mean, we haven't kept a clean sheet yet, which I will admit is a concern. I will hold my hand up and say we should be probably a little bit concerned about that. But if we can outscore teams like that, we don't need to worry about material things as clean sheets. We don't need to worry about that at all. Right, so one thing I haven't talked about. What is the actual aim of this rebuild? Well, the aim is Premier League title. And so far we've started off relatively well. We've had one really difficult, well, one kind of difficult game and another probably slightly less difficult game. We've won our home games so far, and the away game against a difficult team we didn't lose. That's the most important thing. So what we now need to do is continue doing that now. Champions League group, haven't really looked at, but it's Barcelona, Shakhtar and Copenhagen. That's going to be a struggle, but we'll see what happens. So we are going to simulate through until around the halfway points. And then when we do that, we'll reassess what we're doing, what's going right, what's going wrong. We'll see if there's any tactical tweaks we need to make, but we're just going to sim through and we're just going to see how this United team is doing. So, I will see you at the halfway point, and fingers crossed, we're top of the league. We probably won't be, but you know, it is what it is. Halfway point of the season has been reached and everything is, to be honest with you, looking quite good. We're currently top of the Premier League, which, if you look at the history of the table so far, that's not something we can necessarily take for granted. It hasn't been the case the whole way through. In fact, it's only been relatively recently that we've managed to get to the top, but we are there, ahead by 1 point. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with that, to be honest with you. Champions League, we've obviously made it through our group. We're into the round of 16 against Bayern Munich, so I think that's the end of our journey on that one. But then we've got the FA Cup to come against Sunderland, and then we've got the Carabao Cup quarter-final, semi-final, sorry, against Ipswich of all teams. What a run Ipswich have had to get there. So that's the overview. Let's have a quick look at the Premier League a little bit closer, just to see exactly how this has happened. So, played 19, won 14, drawn 2, lost 3. Those 3 are against Liverpool, Arsenal, and Fulham. One of those is not the same as the others. Harry Kane is having a heck of a season. Of course, Erling Haaland topping the goal scoring charts because of course he is. But Harry Kane's got 15 in 19. I'm assuming he's played all 19. He may not have done. He's missed one actually. So 15 in 18. But with 8 assists as well. Can Erling Haaland say the same? I would imagine that he can't. Not a single assist. There you go. I mean, who's the real better player there? Just putting it out there. So yeah, what a season we're having so far. In terms of clean sheets, let's have a quick look. Emi Martinez has got 6. I mean, the most is Aaron Ramsdale on 10. That's not bad, but you'll be disappointed at that. I do wonder whether we'd have invested in fullbacks. Maybe that would be a different number. Who knows? In terms of assists, let's have a quick look. Ousmane Dembele at Manchester City. What a different universe we live in. But Harry Kane's actually 4th on the list, only 2 behind the top. But we also have Jadon Sancho on 6. We've got Luke Shaw on 6. And we've got Garnacho on 5. So he's been getting some game time as well, which is good to see. Very nice indeed. In terms of average ratings, we know Harry Kane is 2nd on the list. Our next player is actually James Ward-Prowse on the 7.31, which I'm quite impressed with, to be honest with you. Varane and Fernandes on this list as well from us. That is pretty good going. Best player in the league apparently is Maxwell Cornet. I mean, it's a parallel universe that we're living in. That much is for sure. If we have a quick closer look at the table, in terms of goals scored, well, we're the best in the league. There's no question about that. We are the best in the league. Defensive-wise, we're nowhere near the best in the league, though. We're actually... That's 1, 2, 3, 4... 5th best in the league. So there's a bit of something to try and work out there as to what we need to do. In fact, let me just double check and see. Player stats is what... No, not player stats. It's team stats that I want. Team stats that I want. Oh my god, if I can click the right thing. There we go. So yeah, you can see best and then 5th best, with a second worst for all of our disciplinary stuff. But do you know what? I don't care about any of that. All of that's good. What's the dynamics looking like? Okay. We got some problems. Looks like Lisandro Martinez got fined for a violent conduct. I'm assuming that's a sending off, and he's not happy about that. Marcus Rashford wants a new deal. That's absolutely fine. I mean, how much have we got in the... Where's all the money gone? I mean, we didn't have much money. We had about £20,000 a week left over. Where has that gone? That's not ideal. That's not ideal. Right. Well, so Nico Schlotterbeck is unhappy because he's not been playing games. To be fair, I bought him and then brought someone over the top of him immediately. He's got a couple of players who very much agree with him, Sancho and Garnacho. And then Joe Felix wants to start more games, which, to be fair, I do regret that signing because I knew he would want to start more games than we'd be giving him. Now, I have had a bit of a fiddle with the starting lineup and returned it into its best. I mean, I've kind of taken players out, put players back in. I'm going to leave it in its best form and then just put the thing of start these players if they're available. But you can see United have got a few issues. Injury-wise, Ward-Prowse is out, Bissaka's out, Varane's out. We know about the suspension to Lisandro Martinez. Harry Kane needs a rest. Marcus Rashford isn't happy. But other than that, everything's great. I mean, obviously, it's not affected the team too much because we are top of the table, although the next match is against Arsenal, who I do believe are in the top 4 as well. Yes, they are. So, yeah. Let's just bear that in mind, shall we? Right. Well, I'm really happy with how the season's gone, even if there's some issues with the squad. Let's go through to the end of the season and let's see whether we can maintain what has obviously been a really good run of form. I mean, let's have a quick look at the schedule before we do and just see exactly how it's happened. So, I had a quick look at this to try and work out exactly when we'll be coming back. Why am I adding those in? I want to add these back in. There we go. So, we started obviously here. We knew about these 3 games though before the transfer window shut. So since then, I mean, it's a good record. Immediately lost against Liverpool, then went unbeaten the rest of September. Lost 1 game in October, unbeaten the rest of it, including a draw against Barcelona. 100% record in November, and only the 1 loss in December. In fact, only the 1 occasion of dropped points or any not a win of any kind in December so far. But it is against Fulham, which is a bit of a concern. So really nice to see how, especially that period there, from Luton through to Burnley. What a period that is. I mean, included in that period, I mean, beat Man City 3-0, beat Chelsea 3-1, Barcelona, we managed to get past 4-3. Sheffield United got battered 6-1. Chelsea, we beat 3-0 in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. There's some big results in there. There really is. I mean, we also knocked out Man City at the beginning of the Carabao Cup. That's got to be ours to lose at this point. That's a good run. I'm really impressed with that. It looks like as well, did we? Champions League, Champions League, Champions League, Champions League. We went through our Champions League campaign only dropping points in 1 game and as an unbeaten side. Considering Barcelona were in our group, that's impressive. That's very impressive. Right, I am actually going to accelerate forward now. Let's go to the end of the season and let's see whether we can stay in first. Remember, that is the objective of this rebuild. So if we don't do it, it'll be a complete failure. Well, we're back, and it's the end of the season, and, well, it's gone a little bit down the unexpected route. So I'm just going to go straight to the competition screen, show you what that looks like. We'll do a deeper dive, and we'll talk about what has resulted. So we didn't win the Premier League. That's the first thing that we need to talk about. There's other stuff there. We'll get to it. But we'll start with the Premier League. We wanted to win it. We came second. I still think that's a decent result. But obviously, we wanted to win it and we didn't end up doing it. It ended up being a 6-point gap between ourselves and Manchester City, which basically means we're right behind them in today's money with how dominant Man City have been. It's just the one win. Well, it's not just the one win, actually. It's like a couple of wins. I don't know where I got the one win from. Basically, what's let us down is that they're a better team than us. That's basically what it is. I mean, their goal difference has ended up being ridiculous. I mean, if we go to the home screen and look, we've got the second best goal scored, fourth best goals conceded. So we improved in defensive measures. I mean, 2 teams have scored over 100 goals in a season. Any other year, that's ours. Our defence very much is the issue. Again, fourth best defence is not good enough really to win the league, but that's obscene. I didn't even see the goals scored thing before. That is utter nonsense, but I think I'm pretty happy with that, all things considered. You know, there's a gap between ourselves and Newcastle, who finished third, Arsenal, who finished fourth, and Liverpool didn't even make it in top 4. Neither did Spurs or Chelsea. So, you know, could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. I'm really happy with that as a result with the team that we've got, actually. And again, I think if we had another season, put another couple of fullbacks in the team rather than the ones we've got, I think that we would have a bit of a superstar team that would win everything. In my opinion, you know, that's just me going on with what I've seen. But again, let's have a deeper dive into the Premier League. So top scorer was Erling Haaland, because of course it was. Harry Kane ended up on 24 goals. That's a reasonable return. Finished second, or as I like to refer to it, first of all of the humans, because Erling Haaland is not human. He finished third, Harry Kane, on the average rating list, and actually finished second on assists. So that's what? 40 goal contributions that he's got. Erling Haaland's, how many goal contributions has he got? He's actually got the same amount. So that defeats that point I was going to make. In terms of clean sheets, how did Emi Martinez do? Finished 6th, 11, so 8 behind Ederson. I mean, again, defence is probably one of the biggest things. I mean, if we had a better defence than them, we'd have probably ended up winning it. That sounds like such an obvious thing to say, I know. But yeah, I'm quite content with Premier League. So have a quick look at the dynamics, actually. How are things here? Okay, we've ended up solving a few issues somehow. I don't really know how, but we've ended up solving a few. So that's nice. Right, what about the FA Cup? Knocked out in the 5th round by Tottenham Hotspur. That is not ideal. But do you know what? It is what it is. The focus was mainly on the league, so I can understand that things happen, but I mean, it obviously wasn't a very good game from us. Christian Eriksen trying to bail us out. Garnacho had an early goal disallowed. Not a good performance from us at all there. A little bit more joy in the Carabao Cup, though. We actually won the Carabao Cup 2-0 against Liverpool. That's a huge result to beat Liverpool by that. Injuries are plenty in the game. Harry Kane, desperately unlucky not to get a hat-trick, but gets the 2 goals that puts us through to winning the trophy at Wembley. Results. So that puts us level with Erik Ten Hag and Jose Mourinho. Well, not level with Jose Mourinho, but basically we've won the same trophy. So doing that in our first season like Erik Ten Hag did, that is not a bad result at all. But you probably already have seen Champions League final. We've got to the Champions League final with Manchester United, and it's going to be United versus Barcelona. So we already knew about our group. We already knew we won that. Round of 16, we obviously got past Bayern Munich. So that is going to be, I'm assuming, 3-2. In fact, a better way to look at it. That's a much better way to look at it. So, drew the first leg 1-1, Marcus Rashford getting that goal, and just squeezing past Bayern Munich in the second leg 3-2 with Casemiro, Garnacho and Fernandes with the all-important winning goal. The second leg, another German team, RB Leipzig, similar pattern, drew the first leg, won the second leg, a bit more comfortable in the second leg, RB Leipzig beating them 2-0, Harry Kane and Bruno Fernandes getting the job done. And what a wacky semi-final. I've not looked at this. What a wacky semi-final this is. 6-1 in the home leg. A Harry Kane hat-trick. Kim Min-jae with a rare goal. And Marcus Rashford with a brace. Getting us past them 6-1. But then look at the state of that second leg. We lost 4-0. Squeezing through purely on the fact that we outscored them by 1 goal in the first leg. Diaz, Haaland with a couple. And Grealish giving them a bit more hope in the 89th minute. But it wasn't to be. And that gets us through to a final against Barcelona, which is obscene. What has their schedule been like? I'm curious to see what their path to the final looks like. So they also had a domestic rival in the semi-final, which is quite interesting. So obviously we beat them. I've just thought we've actually already beaten them this season in the group stage. I didn't even think about that. So they got past Inter, lost the second leg against Inter in the round of 16, beat Paris Saint-Germain in the quarter-final both legs, scraped past Real Madrid in the semi-final and got through to the final. Well then. I'm not going to play the final, but I am going to sim past it, so at least we can see what the result is, and then we can judge whether this has been a success or a failure, because at the moment, I'm leaning towards it's not been the most successful. But if we win the Champions League in our first season, right, give me a moment and we'll see what happens. Okay, we're back. The Champions League final has passed. Why I've saved this on my backup, I don't really know, but I have. Should we see what happens? Okay, those are lots of emails I've obviously not read. Let's scroll up and let's see how we did in the Champions League final. Taking a while to find it. We did it. Champions League final has been won. We've technically won a double. 1-0 in the final. It's a Christian Eriksen penalty in the 92nd minute. But we do finish this rebuild with a Champions League win. That elevates it up to a success. I mean, I wanted to win the league because I didn't even mention Champions League. A, because I forgot that United were in it somehow. And B, because in the nicest possible way, I just ruled it out. I just thought there's no way this United team are going to be able to win a Champions League in their first season. League, maybe. Champions League's a different thing. Gone and done it. At the first time of asking, I'm quite impressed with that. Very impressed indeed. So let's have a quick nose at the actual match stats and just have a quick look and see how everything worked out. So Barcelona desperately unlucky. Had a goal disallowed in the 55th minute. And looking at our team as well, we did struggle a bit. Fernandes didn't get into the game, neither did Luke Shaw. Rashford had an awful time. Kane was a little bit anonymous. But Rafael Varane came on as a substitute from the looks of things and really helped change the game. But the big one was obviously Christian Eriksen. I'm assuming he came on for Fernandes. And to score a penalty in the 92nd minute. And I mean, when you look at the match stats, we had the higher XG and the more chances, but they were all over us in terms of possession, all over us in terms of passes completed. They committed more fouls than us, though, and we had more corners. So I would say it's a fair result. The XG doesn't lie. Fair result. We win. What's Barcelona's team looking like, by the way? I mean, that's a formation. That's a formation and a half. So they have, I mean, a decent backline, not the best. Goalkeepers, obviously, very good. Sergio Roberto and Frankie de Jong in the middle. Who's Rodriguez? Which one are you? James Rodriguez at Barcelona. That is unusual. So James Rodriguez and Pedri as the attacking midfield too. Very narrow that they're playing. With Ferran Torres and Robert Lewandowski as the strike partnership. I mean, that system obviously did not work for them in this game whatsoever. Gavioni on the bench. But we win the Champions League in this rebuild. That is the most important thing, which does mean we end the season as double winners, as mentioned before, finishing second in the league as well. I would call that a hefty success. Let's have a quick look through the squad and let's just see who the biggest appearance makers were and who the biggest impact players were as well. So Emi Martinez with 62 games. Only keeping 20 clean sheets is a bit of a disappointment, but you know what? I'll take what I can get. The defence definitely was something we overlooked a little bit. I mean, we invested heavily in it, so I mean, it feels a bit weird to say. Also, why will this not? There we go, that's what I want to do. Let's just reduce that down so we can see it. So his average rating was actually, in fact, that's Hannibal. Why am I looking at Hannibal? His average rating was alright, Emi Martinez, but obviously didn't keep as many clean sheets as we wanted him to. Next was Harry Kane. Harry Kane scoring 40 goals in all competitions, 19 assists. The man's a machine. One of the better players for sure this season. Marcus Rashford was next. 23 goals, 8 assists. Normally I'd say that's a good season, even in 56 total appearances, but I mean, he's been overshadowed there by Harry Kane somewhat. Luke Shaw was next with 51 appearances from the start, 53 54 including sub appearances with 11 assists. Rafael Varane was next, had a good number of appearances. Bruno Fernandes did have an injury, I have looked and had a check. 14 goals, 17 assists, what a season he had. Casemiro was also one of the constants, as was Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Christian Eriksen. Christian Eriksen getting a nice even goal and assist contribution. And then some of the Kim Min-jae and Lisandro Martinez made a lot of appearances as well. Then some of the guys who didn't appear quite as often, not a surprise for James Ward-Prowse, but good goal contribution, good assist contribution. Same with Jadon Sancho. And Alejandro Garnacho, really nice to see him get a good amount of game time and good goal contributions as well. Dalot did come in and do a job. Felix did a good job with his goal contributions as well. Tyrell Malacia had that horrible injury at the start of the season. Looks like he did settle into being a rotation player. Scott McTominay did do a decent job when he came in. Nico Schlotterbeck barely appeared, which is a shame, but I think that's more to do with the fact that he was moaning about the fact that he couldn't play as often as he wanted to. Donny van der Beek, he played more than I would have played him if I was actually using the save. I'm going to be honest with you. Anthony as well, not really playing very well. We would have tried to sell him had we been playing the save. Certainly in January we would have tried to. And then the other players who didn't really appear as well. Harry Maguire getting 2 appearances, despite the fact that we couldn't shift him off. And Tom Heaton, Matej Kovar, Nathan Bishop and Amad Diallo, players who didn't make a single appearance over the season. So, that is the rebuild. Very successful. We didn't do what we set out to. We actually overachieved in a way by winning the Champions League instead of the league. So, that brings the question of who the next rebuild will be. I'm not going to tell you now. You're just going to have to wait and see. But let's just say it's a certain club that might be in England's, that might have relatively new owners, that also might have United at the end of the name. It's Newcastle United. I'm not even going to hide it anymore. That's who the next rebuild is going to be with. I don't know when it will be, but it will be soon. But if you have enjoyed this one, hopefully you will enjoy that one. So don't forget to leave a like if you have enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the content coming in the future. My name is Stu. You guys have been awesome, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.